Hey guys, and welcome back into the channel. We're gonna start this thing out today. Very first video for this channel, the very first video. Hopefully of a long list of videos on that are set to be on the way. What we're gonna be doing here with this channel, starting with this video here today, is we're going to be going back in time. Something that in my mind when I think about, is going to be a very daunting task. We're going to be going back in time all the way back to Big Brother or Big Brother 2. And we're going to be watching every episode and reviewing every episode of Big Brother from episode 2 all the way up to the current seasons. So it's not just going to be going back in time and reviewing old episodes and old seasons. We'll also be on this channel previewing and reviewing current episodes of Big Brother when they come out. Obviously, a lot more of the time on this channel will be spent reviewing old episodes, though, due to the fact that we're over 20 seasons into the show. Why I might, some people might watch this and be like, why are you reviewing episodes of a show that is 20 years old? Well, not 20 years old, but you know what I'm saying, 10, 15, however many years old. I believe the season 2 is in, 2002 or 2003. So, we're talking over 15 years old. And the reason is simple. I'm a guy, and I'm sure there's lots of other people out there just like me. I like going back and watching old shows. I like going back and watching old reality shows in particular, Survivor, Big Brother, shows like that. And I always find myself when I watch a show, whether it be a reality show, a sports show, whatever the case may be, I like to try to watch the show, and then I like to go listen to someone talk about it. Listen to someone talk about the thing that I just watched. Interact with people that I just, interact with people about what I just experienced. And with these older seasons, it's nearly impossible to do that. Yes, you can go back the last few years of Big Brother and the current years, and you can find people talking about it. But to go back and watch people discussing Big Brother 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 and so on and so forth, it's almost impossible. And I want to give people that are like me in that regard an opportunity to do that. So we're going to start this out here today. It's going to be a long, long journey. It'll probably take me over a year or two to get to the point where I could catch up. But it's going to be fun. So I don't view it as some daunting task that in terms of I'm not like dreading doing it. I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully there's people out there like me that do enjoy it. Again, this is the first video in this channel in this channel's history, so I'm going to get better as I do these, and I'll find some sort of a format that works for me. But we're just going to start out. We're going to jump right into it. I just a few minutes ago watched season 2, episode 1. I know there was a first season, but it wasn't real Big Brother. It was a completely different show. So, in my opinion, this is the very first episode of what we know to be Big Brother. Season 2, episode 1, it was in early July when this episode premiered. Basically, we'll just discuss the episode. I'll give you some thoughts that I had on the episode. And then, if you just recently watched the episode or you remember it from when you watched it prior, comment down below what you think about it. If you agree with certain things, disagree with certain things, just let me know what you think. So the show starts out, and very interesting enough, it's very similar in terms of the fact that the show starts the exact same way that it starts now. You had a ton of people getting introduced from their homes, very cheesy, you have to kind of suspend your disbelief to believe that these people, because we all understand that these people know they're on the show already. They're not actually finding out that they're on the show in that moment, so it's a little ridiculous, but I found it to be a little less ridiculous here in the early seasons. A little less cheesy, and maybe that had something to do with the types of people they casted as well, which is the next thing I'm going to get into. This cast is very interesting in terms of the fact that, like, when and this is something as we get to the modern seasons, you'll hear me say a lot, more so with Big Brother than Survivor, but with Big Brother, it's like they're casting a play when they cast these shows. It's like you always have the exact same types of people, the exact same types of stereotypes, every single year over and over and over. And it's like 1 year you got this person, and then the next year it's like they're casting this new person in the place of the person that was filling that role the year prior. And with this first season, I like that you have a lot of people that are in the cast that are types of people you wouldn't see casted nowadays. For instance, 2 guys in particular that I really noticed that with, Kent and Justin. Justin, and we'll find out as we go on with the reviews why, but this is the type of guy you would never see cast in any really modern television show, let alone Big Brother or Survivor. This is a really crude, his teeth are kind of janky. I believe he's missing half of one of his front teeth. He's very he's not politically correct in any way whatsoever, and he's there to, without a doubt, kind of like what Ken said, if he had a chance to score with one of these chicks in the house, he'd probably have sex with every girl in that house if he had the opportunity. This guy, though, is very interesting. The way he says his lines, or not lines, but the way he says things in the diary room, the way he interacts with people, it's very different than what you're used to. This has like a very ghetto-ish feel, the way he comes across, I guess. There's probably a better way of putting that, but I feel like if you've seen it and you know who I'm talking about in Justin, you get what I'm saying. And Kent also, he's very different from what they cast nowadays. Yes, they still cast their older guys in the seasons, but I don't think there'll ever be or ever was another guy like Kent. And I just thought those two were very interesting casting choices. And one of the things really about Big Brother 2 that I find interesting is, and I guess it would be that way with any new show, but they're really kind of trying to figure out what they are. The show doesn't know what it is at this point. It's just kind of giving these people in the house, throwing it out there, and let's see what happens and enjoy the ride, because there's nothing before it that we can say, all right, this is what this show is. We're all kind of learning it together. The cast is learning it together. Production's learning it. We're learning it. It's an interesting dynamic. But yeah, you get the traditional, they all meet in front of the house, whatever. And then they go in and they put like, 4 in at a time. Because there's 12 people, so yeah, they do 3 groups of 4. As they go in, they all start picking their beds. I thought it was kind of funny. Kent gets the old army cot on the ground. Something that they, not necessarily the army cot, but something they still do to this day, in terms of some people are going to get great sleeping arrangements. Some people are going to get kind of shit, screwed over. And Kent gets screwed over, which he's the perfect guy to get screwed over, just because his reaction, I find Kent to be hilarious. I think he's a great character. I really enjoy him throughout the season, as you'll find out through these reviews. And I just thought his reaction to getting the army cot was pretty funny. Then they do this, as they do. I mean, you're finding there's a lot of things similar, even though it's, an old season, very outdated. There's still a lot of things that are similar. What do they do next? They all meet in the living room, have their champagne, whatever the case may be. They go around the room, talk about where they're from, what they do for a living, things, and those kind of things. And one of the things I really noticed was I enjoyed, what do you want to call this, like a get together to start the season, the cast all meeting each other. I enjoyed this segment a lot more. I really enjoyed it, to be honest. Not even just in comparison to other seasons, just in general, I really enjoyed it. But in comparison to current seasons, modern seasons, it was so much better. The modern seasons, normally I just want to skip that opening segment of them all meeting each other. This segment was great, though. I mean, you had Kent throwing in some good one-liners. Makes a comment about how he was told there'd be a dumb fat guy in the cast, and he's looking around, he doesn't see one, so does that mean what he thinks it means? And just stuff like that. And the diary room sessions during this segment were great. Right from the get-go, you see Nicole, who I don't want to go into too much into detail because I want to review, kind of let my thoughts out in terms of the whole season as a whole. I want to kind of let it out episode by episode. But Nicole is someone that is very pushy. And right away you see, I think Shannon makes a comment about like what'd she say? She kind of sits down and takes charge of it, and like the whole, like, what's the expression? Lion, like, hear me roar or whatever. She just she needs to control the environment. She needs to control the situation. And you still see that with people in the cast every single year. But what's interesting about Nicole, don't want to go too much into it, but normally those people go early. We'll see if Nicole goes early. I have a feeling she won't. Or I just know. But Nicole, she is very pushy, very much needs to control that whole environment. And I think it's big to see her interaction in that moment, and to see how she does change over time. And obviously it's not a sincere and honest change. It's more of a strategic change. But it's this moment where she realizes in this episode where it's like that kind of personality, that kind of pushiness in terms of trying to control everything and control the group will not work for the future of this game. So I think it's important to see this, because if you see this moment in this episode, you'll see as the show goes on how she does kind of a change and adapt to her environment and her situation. And I thought that it was interesting to go back and remember, like, man, she really was an annoying bitch right at the start. Another thing I noticed from this and you'll find this out as we go along, I hate Autumn. do not like her. She annoys the piss out of me. If I was in the house, oh my God, she would drive me crazy. I think she's probably a nice person, but holy shit, she's annoying. She's needy. She's just, ugh. And there's a point where she comes up and she says, everyone's saying their age, obviously. She says she won't release her age. My reaction was like, what the fuck? You won't release your age? I've never heard that one before. I've like heard that about your weight, but your age? How old can you be? But I didn't like that at all, and she just very much annoys me. The next thing, what do we have? We had, sorry, I took notes. As I said, we'll get better with this. The next thing is, we have the next thing is the competition, which this is, I feel like a lot of people that don't even like currently watch Big Brother to this day, that just remember watching it in its early days, will remember this competition. One, because it's the first competition in the show's history, but because it's very memorable. It's a great competition. The idea of the competition is it's a food comp, which normally those suck, but this one you get all the food and all the groceries, and then basically there's a new 2002 car. I can't remember what type of car, but they got to get all the groceries and all the food. And what do they got to do? They got to all get into the car with the groceries, all 12 of them, with the doors shut, and they got to stay in there for 60 seconds, which, and I think Mike Boogie makes a comment about he's claustrophobic. If you're claustrophobic in that situation, it's going to be difficult to do that. 12 people in a car that's not ginormous. But they do it, they make it, and that, it just, in like, that in and of itself was a pretty good comp. But then you throw in the next thing they do. Whoever's the last person staying in the car or remaining in the car wins it. And it kind of, you end up getting a situation where most people jump out right away. And you're left with Autumn and Kent ultimately. Autumn, of course, in her needy, desperate, disgusting way, tries to make Kent feel bad about how she's a single mother with no car and how she needs it more than Kent does because he's married and already has a car. But Kent isn't having none of that bullshit, just like I wouldn't. Kent stays in the car. Autumn gets out. Autumn's all pissy about it, blames Kent, says how he has no compassion. Fuck you, Autumn, you're full of shit. Like Kent said, and it's so true. He didn't steal the car from her. If she wanted it, she should have stayed in the car. He's human. He would have had to piss at some point. He's an old man. He would have had to go get take a smoke break. But she didn't have the desire nor the strength to stay in there, and the mental ability. I mean, that probably why she finds herself in the predicament she's in. So she gets out. Kent wins it. Good job, Kent. Proud of you. Then we have a very memorable moment from the early season. I think it's from the whole season. It's one of the most memorable moments. We have Kent and Bunky, which is a real cool relationship that goes on through the season. You have Kent, kind of you view him as a real conservative from the South, and he's befriends, the Bunky who is gay. And at this time, it's still weird to go back and watch these shows. I was just a young kid at this point, 2002. But it's interesting to see how the views on that have changed in terms of homosexuality and stuff. But for the better, I may add. But it's interesting to see it, and it's kind of cool. I think for the show, it worked out amazingly that they became so close, because it could have been really ugly for the show if Kent had not handled it. Obviously, they became friends before he knew, but ultimately he finds out, and he's so cool about it and so understanding of it, and they stay friends. And I think it was a big moment for the show. And I thought their segment where Kent's kind of basically saying to Bunky how he doesn't agree with the lifestyle and he doesn't appreciate that it's thrown in his face, and all while not knowing that Bunky is gay right in front of him, listening to it. That was a real great scene. Then we have them playing Truth or Dare, all having a drink at the hot tub, just enjoying things, all having fun. Kent sits out. I think it's Will makes a comment about how when you immediately ostracize yourself from a group, it's putting a target on your back, which I understand, but at the same time, I kind of get where Kent's coming from. Maybe there was a better way of going about it in terms of playing the game, I guess. But then again, he's right when he says he knew what it was going to be. It was going to be like a frat party. It was going to be very sexual in nature. And in his current position with a couple little girls, a wife who he's in love with, how is he supposed to play that? I mean, and he's so much a difference in age. Like, I understood where he was coming from. I did not think that it should have been held against him. If I was in the house, I wouldn't have held it against him. There's many things that you could sit out from and ostracize yourself from the group from, where I would have a problem with it. That was not one of them. Then we have Kent going around trying to start an alliance with Justin. it was 4 guys. I think it was maybe uh, him, Justin, Bunky, and Hardy. I think were the 4 guys that they were trying to start an alliance with. I thought, again, you just saw Kent, a very awesome casting choice. There's so many different things about him that are great, but that was another one. And the fact that it's early season Big Brother, a lot of times you don't see a lot of strategy in these early seasons, but he's thinking about the game. He's thinking about how he can advance himself in the game right from the beginning. Kent was just great. I loved him. Great TV. Then we have at the end of the episode, we have the first HOH competition. And I got to say, I'm trying to think. I can't remember when. I'm pretty sure until this point in time, we're 20 plus seasons into the show. I think this is the greatest opening competition they've ever had in the show's history. You're basically got a group of strangers blatantly making judgments on. Basically, you have blatant judgments on total strangers. A group of people. This was a competition where it was completely designed to cause controversy, designed to create problems and issues amongst the group. And immediately it does that. You got people on, you had to spin the wheel, and the wheel had all these different things like bitchiest, horniest, all these different kind of stereotypes. And a lot of them were very negative, mean stereotypes. And you got to basically tell someone that they're the bitchiest of the group right after meeting them. When everyone's trying to get along and be friends, and then Big Brother throws this at them. An amazing opening competition. If I was in the house, I would have hated it. But watching it, I wish they'd bring that back. I mean, it takes no budget whatsoever. They're too good for it. They have too much money now to do a great competition like this. It just proves that you don't necessarily need a budget for good competitions. This was a great one. And then at the end of the competition, it comes down to Mike and Cheryl. They get to vote. All the remaining people get to vote on who wins. They both get their little pitches as to why they should win. Mike does a rap, which in the grand scheme of things, whatever. It wasn't no Eminem style rap, but it was good enough. I mean, if he really came up with it on the spot, good enough, I suppose. I did see he had something written on his hand. I don't know what that was. If you go back, you can see it. It's like in yellowish, greenish, like Sharpie or marker or whatever, but he wins it. And right from the beginning, you see Mike wins this opening competition and this opening HOH because he has a great personality. He's the life of the party. He just... he knows how to deal with people, and a lot of that, sorry, I got a tickle in my throat, probably comes from, running the bar and whatnot. But all in all, and for this first episode of Big Brother Season 2, an amazing episode. I thought it was a great competition, a great cast, great DRs, just a great opening episode. I think if you're going to have a show that ultimately sustains its run like Big Brother has, you need to have a good start and a good opening, and Big Brother 2 did that with this episode. An amazing episode. In terms of an MVP, I'm going to give an MVP for every episode. For this first episode, it definitely was Kent, Justin, and Boogie were the 3 best, I thought, from this episode. But the MVP has to go to Kent for the great line with Boogie. He wins the competition. He beats Autumn, sits out of Truth and Dare. He's just all over the map with so many great things. Couple great DRs, some funny moments. I really thought Kent was the MVP of this opening episode, but... all in all, great start to Big Brother 2. I'll be back for episode 2 and the review of that episode probably tomorrow. In terms of, again, we're going to be reviewing every episode from season 2 all the way up to the current seasons. It's going to take a long time. We'll just go at a good, steady pace and just enjoy it. Hopefully, some people find this and enjoy it. As I said, this is the very first video I've ever done, so it may not be perfect. But we're going to get better, and we're just going to have fun doing it, or at least I'm going to. If you watch the video, comment down below. Let me know what you think. Did you enjoy this episode like I did? But thanks, guys. Like and subscribe. Comment. Thanks, guys. I'm out.